Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Sweet and Sour of the Week. This is episode 3, building them up nice and slowly. Scott, how are you doing?
I'm all good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, a bit sad that there's no Premier League football coming up and, FA Cup weekend, international duty. Got no interest whatsoever.
I mean, I'm a bit more of an international football enjoyer than you are, now, so I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm not
I'm
a massive
sick of.
fan of the friendlies, but you know what? Because we keep forgetting, I'm just going to throw it out there. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like if you're
Yes.
watching this, because we keep forgetting, and we've noticed every time we ask you to do it, we tend to
We
get
get a
more
subscribe,
likes.
yeah.
If you haven't done it already, I'm going to ask why not. Hit that like for us. It really does help us out. And let's crack on.
You're really scary when you don't get those subscribers. Yeah, so I mean, the first thing I want to talk about is Man City. We seem to say this every single year, don't we? For the last 3 or 4 years, quadruple, could win 5 trophies. It's never happened, and they've never been close, really, in terms of the Champions League. But I'm still not on that train yet. I don't know. Is this a team that's better than teams of 2 or 3 years ago? I don't know. I know they've walked away with the league, but they normally get 95 points anyway, it seems, over the last 3 or 4 years. So do we really say?
One thing that could make a difference is because they've already pretty much won the league. We often argue, don't we? And when you look at the German league and the Spanish league, that more the German league and the French league. Sorry, not the Spanish one. By this point in the season, it's already wrapped up, isn't it? And you see teams like Bayern, PSG get to rest players in the league to focus on the Champions League. With those leagues, that's not the case this year, and it's probably more so the case for the City, that if they really wanted to, they could drop players in the league and they'd probably still win.
We know their squad depth is just disgusting. Their B team wins the league, probably, you could argue. They've got a very good tie. Apart from Porto, you could argue, they've probably got the team they'd have wanted. Obviously, no one wants to play Haaland in the form he's in.
No.
But PSG, Munich, Liverpool, Chelsea, the way they're playing at the moment, Dortmund would be one of the ones you would like. If they get through that, they've got to play PSG or Munich. That's then the test, the real test.
Yeah, you'd probably say whoever wins that semi-final, I'm just going to go out there and say it will be the champions of the Champions League. I don't see the other side. I don't care who gets through from that side. I don't really see them winning. I mean, obviously it's a one-off match, but I just don't see it.
It depends if Liverpool get Van Dijk back for that final. There's murmurs about it. If they get through. Yeah. You never know. But I think if I had to put money on it, I think the winner will come from that left-hand side of the draw rather than the right. I mean, speaking of draws, Leicester through to their first semi-final in 39 years, I think. Semi-final of the FA Cup, I should say. A good draw, Southampton. Obviously, being a Wolves fan, we'd have had a pretty good run in if we'd have bothered playing a decent team. But I think you can only see Leicester winning that one. I think you say it's going to be a City-Leicester final. Is that too premature?
Do you know what? You don't know, do you? Especially with Leicester having a couple of injuries at the moment. It's a one-off game, isn't it? Could Southampton pull it off? I'd probably say they could. They're obviously they're a bit nervous because obviously, Leicester, I mean, it's a bit ago, but they did the 9-0 over them and they've made some jokes about that. But I don't know. It's a one-off game, isn't it, to get it to a final? If, you wouldn't say if Southampton turn up at the best and Leicester have an off day, like maybe a bit like how they did in the Europa League, where you thought they were all set to get through and didn't.
I think as a neutral, it's nice. As a neutral, it's nice to be able to say that Leicester or Southampton will be in the FA Cup final. And I'll be honest with you, whoever it is out of Leicester and Southampton, I'll be rooting for them in the final.
I think I will as well, because it would teach, and this is coming from a bit of a biased point, but it would teach clubs like Wolves, our club, that didn't take that Southampton tie seriously. You know, if
What could have
Southampton now go on to win the FA Cup, not only have they won a trophy, they've also won a European spot.
Yeah.
You know, it might teach clubs to take the cup a bit more seriously and present the prize which is on offer.
Even other teams, other bigger teams, like, you know, I know Arsenal were on that side of the draw anyway. Your Tottenhams, you know, it's just to say, listen, if Southampton get through to that cup final, you know, you could have played Southampton to win the FA Cup. It's very rarely that happens. So, you know, I think it'll be interesting no matter what happens. Obviously, they beat Man U. It's not even a semi-final loss this time for Ollie.
Quarter.
They're going to finish second or third. We've said that in previous videos. They could win the Europa League. Is a Europa League win and a second or third place finish a failure? Or would you say he's done what he was? Because don't forget, Man U were in the Champions League. So if they do win the Europa League, which I'm against teams dropping into the Europa League, I don't believe that should happen.
No.
But, you know, he might flex his muscles and say, oh, I've won a European trophy, but it's only because you failed in the big one.
Do you know what? I think at the moment you can't. I'm not really backing this kind of Ollie out and United fans wanting Ollie out. I think he's doing a pretty decent job. I think United are a big club in stature and the amount of fans, the world base that they have. That team shouldn't. You look at that team; they're not really at the stage of competing for the top prizes. I think they're missing a big striker. You know,
I think they're miles away. And
exactly.
The reason
is, I mean, what's your view? I think Ollie's actually doing a pretty decent job.
I'm actually one of those people that we're not United fans. We don't know what it's like to win the league every year or every 2 years, you know, and win Champions League. So being Wolves fans, it's easy for us to sit there and say, what are you complaining about? You're in the top four, you know, but they're not used to that. So it's hard to say. I like to think if I was a United fan, I wouldn't be Ollie out because I think he's actually done okay. I mean, he's a weird one, Ollie. He just does enough to keeping his job. And like, he's played Arteta 3 times since he's been in charge of Arsenal. Hasn't even scored against them. Never mind one. But then he'll beat City. So it's like, you know, I don't know. I think if Ollie gets second and wins the Europa League, I don't think they can moan. It's another trophy. It's a European trophy. They're back in the top 4. But I think for United, they're going to be a million miles away for quite some time because they're not going to get rid of Maguire, who they spent 80 million on.
No.
And he's a big problem. Fred was 50 million. Ollie loves McFred, and they're a big reason why they're not going to win anything major. So I just think they're a long way off yet. Yeah,
definitely. I'd agree with that. And in this day, you know, the Premier League as it is now, can you really call losing to Leicester in a quarter-final bottling it?
Again, for us, no. For United fans, they'll be thinking, we're Man United, because he didn't even play his best team. That's the... I don't know what Ollie's thinking about. They've got an international break. I mean, he brings Van der Beek off and Pogba off on an hour, both of them. Brings Bruno on. Bruno's looking around thinking, you've brought me on, but you've taken Pogba off and left Fred and McTominay. I don't know.
They said Fred survived the 4 substitutions.
And this is a guy that had a shocking game, gave a goal away. I mean, Fred's not going to win you the league. Fred doesn't win you the Champions League. So, yeah, if I was a Man United fan, I'd be... I wouldn't be thinking the future's rosy anyway. Put it that way.
No. I mean, let's move on to... I was going to say let's move on to another situation that wasn't rosy, but that's understating it. An absolute disgrace of a situation happening.
Do you believe it happened? Do you believe that he was racially abused? For me, there's no question, because his own teammates look at him as if to say, what? Have you seen the clip of the Slavic?
I have, yeah, and it's a hard one, isn't it? Because, I mean, look, you know, objectively, part of me always feels, there's a little bit of me that's like, I hate going against someone when it's not been proven, but in this scenario, for me, it is pretty dead set. And it's always a problem, isn't it? And it's a problem that why UEFA won't do anything, because there's always that situation where they're going to go, but it hasn't been proven. And although I get that in a way, when you always are going to have that attitude, and I agree, I can see why they have to take this attitude that they can't just, do you know what? It would be massive for one of the opposition players to actually come out and go, he said it, and I don't approve of it.
Because there was two teammates next to him who were people of color, and why whisper something and go like that? Why not just, if you weren't saying something derogatory, wouldn't you just say it? And then his own teammates kind of look at him as to say, have you just said that? And then what was his teammate? One of Kamara's teammates hears it as well, and he's also a person of color, and he reacts, and he goes even more mental than Kamara, you could argue. So and the fact that it comes from another team that's in Eastern Europe, and we know what they're like, and they're quite open with this kind of thing. It doesn't look good.
Well, there was a picture of their ultras after, and I won't say which was what was on the pictures, but it was kind of saying they stood by that player, and it had a very derogatory term on, which obviously I'm not going to say.
It's just another. I mean, nothing will come of this. And what was nice to see was Scott Brown, obviously massive rivalry, the old firm, but he went up to him while they were training and put his arm around him, and both teams stood during the knee, didn't they? So that sends out a message. But what does this do? Do you really think that these Ukrainian and Bulgarian teams give a damn whether English and Scottish teams are taking the knee or not? We know what they're like.
They'd give a damn if UEFA kicked them out of the next European competition or kicked them out for 5-10 years.
Never going to happen.
It will never happen, but it should.
What they should do is, I mean, if they were found guilty prior to the next round commencing, they should kick them out and just reinstate Rangers.
Well, what UEFA should do actually is they should go give this club a stance. If it's been proven he did say that, give him, we're giving you an option here. You either terminate his contract or you don't see European football for the next 5 years. What do you want to choose?
Yeah, I don't think there's enough from clubs themselves to call these players out, because these club owners know that racism is rife in their country. They can't afford to go against one of their own players and then turn and get the fans turning against them. They can't afford that. They know that their fans are a lot of them are racist. So what do? You're cutting off your nose to spite your face, and this is the problem. The clubs aren't going to change it. The UEFA have to come out and say, right, you're banned 5 years. No ifs or buts. It might seem a little bit harsh, but why should a professional footballer be subject to this because of the colour of his skin? I'm sorry, but it's just, I don't know. It's just a lot of people. We say this on every video, whether it be VAR or corruption. It's just a lot of people, old men in charge, who are just outdated and have no idea what they're doing.
I mean, the last thing I'll say on this, actually, did you see what is probably the most stupidest interview question of all time asked to Gerrard? You've got to have seen the clip.
When he backs Kamara?
Well, the person asks the interview question and goes, can you repeat what was said to Kamara?
Oh, I mean, yeah.
What kind of question is that?
Let me just blurt that out. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, let me just blurt out that racist term which was used. I mean, I don't know what...
Because even Gerrard looked a bit like, what are you talking about? Like, he says, listen, I'm not going to repeat what he said. What do you think he's going to do? Oh, yeah, we called him this. I don't know, yeah, just morons. But it's a shame, really. It really is a shame. And she'll just be quite honest. It's not going to change. It's not. It's been happening for 40 years because the people in charge have no backbone, whether it be money or they don't want these fans of these clubs to start raiding their house and finding out where they live, whatever. I'm sorry to say this, and I wish it wasn't true. It's not going to change. It's just not, because the people in charge will refuse to do anything.
And this is why maybe players such as Zaha are now starting to go, you know what, I'm not going to take the knee, because...
Do you know what I'd love? and I'd back every single player that did it. I'd love, just like when PSG walked off the pitch, was it Demba Ba and Besiktas?
Yes,
wasn't it? I would love it if every team got together and said, right, we're not playing any more Champions League football this season. No Europa League. We refuse to play. Until something happens.
Change that, just like everything, money.
That would, I guarantee, this would never happen, obviously, but if every club still in Europe said, we're not playing anymore in this season, something would happen the next day. You guarantee that.
Yeah, because that's true. Because I suppose then FIFA or UEFA, would go, oh no, we need these teams and we need it more than a racist team. But let's face it.
Do you really think UEFA care about Rangers? It's sad. They don't care about Rangers. If Rangers revolt and say, oh, we're not playing in it, okay, fine. No. We'll give it Celtic.
United do it, or someone like that, or an Arsenal said, right, we're not going to finish the competition, then yeah, I agree. But yeah,
PSG walked off the pitch and still nothing happened. So
true. I guess that's it, isn't it? This week for the weekly roundup.
Yeah, it's a shame, really. Obviously, we take every story serious, especially when it comes to something like Glen Kamara. But oh god, man, these international games just suck the life out of you. It's just a dead week. It's a dead week. What's the point? Get rid of international football. Let's have a 10-month season of all club level. Just have 2 months off in the summer. Never have an international match again.
I'm not going to agree because I love my international football, but I don't know. There's something for you guys, if you've made it this far in the video, to let us know what you think. What do you think about international football? Do you enjoy it? Would you really miss if it wasn't there? Are you a bit like me that every tournament you still get your hopes up and then they go and crush?
That's exactly why I don't care anymore. I'm sick of crying when we lose.
Yeah.
I ain't interested.
Yeah, so let us know what you think. And as always, guys, subscribe, hit the like button.
Hit that like button.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.